Bold Movers. I am so excited to introduce you today to Sherehan Ross. She is a marketing executive, brand builder, and community first operator with over 15 years of experience driving growth across B2B SaaS, CPG, and emerging tech. She is currently the VP of marketing at Modus Planning, where she's leading the charge to fix broken revenue ops in the CPG world, one spreadsheet at a time. She's known for her bold voice, you guys. So I can't wait to talk more about her bold voice and also her unapologetic takes on marketing, leadership, and motherhood. Sherehan has built a personal brand rooted in authenticity, authority, and storytelling. Maybe that's why I'm also so excited to speak with you, Sherehan. Storytelling is a combined passion of ours. She's worked with Fortune 100 giants, scrappy startups, and everything in between. But her North Star is always the same: make marketing more human. And in the age of AI, that is even more important than ever before. When she's not building go-to-market strategies or turning chaos into clarity, you can find her chasing her two kids, sipping strong coffee, and plotting her next spicy take on the internet. I am very, very excited, Sherehan, for a conversation today and to officially meet you. So thanks for being here and welcome to the Bold Moves How Did You Know podcast.
Thank you so much, Kristen. So nice to meet you. It's so exciting to be here. Anytime I hear the word bold, I'm like, yes, that is my middle name. Let's talk.
I just saw you sipping your strong cup of joe. Is there a preference for your coffee?
Yes. So I think I learned recently that this is it Vietnamese coffee? So it's
yes.
Regular coffee. The coffee's regular, but I use organic condensed milk as my little sweetener / creamer, but it's 100% milk, 100% regular sugar, no added anything else, no flavors, nothing crazy. It just sweetens it ever so slightly and takes the edge off, because after your third cup, you can't just keep drinking black coffee. But yeah, and This is, I think it's a 16 ounce. Yeah, 16 ounce. And it says because kids. So,
because kids. No,
so
that's
that was my Mother's Day gift, from my little one.
I also drink too much coffee every single day, and I love Vietnamese iced coffee. So actually, I might have to take a tip from you and put that condensed milk into my coffee every day as a creamer instead of the half and half I'm using, and try that out.
So is it correct that Vietnamese coffee is the one that uses like yes, somebody told me this is Vietnamese.
When I discovered Vietnamese iced coffee, my whole world changed. So I am excited to actually try it at home. I've never done that before. I also had a cup of coffee next to me, but I just finished it. So I am highly caffeinated for this conversation. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, this is one of the first interviews I'm doing in this whole new season. And I have a new question, which is, how do you be bold inside of your bold move? And your story really felt like the perfect place to start. I know that you recently made a huge move, stepping into the VP of marketing role at Modus Planning.
Yeah.
But prior to that, and you'll take us on this journey here in a minute, I understand that you were a successful fractional marketer.
Yeah.
And now as the VP of marketing, you're in-house and you're owning the full marketing function from start to finish, all of it: brand, events, content, demand, right? Lead gen, advertising, everything. Let's go ahead and get started talking about your jump to a full-time corporate role and why did you decide to do that?
I started my career in corporate. I was at Nationwide at Fortune 100. I was Fortune 70 something, I think, at the time, maybe even top 50. But the point is, I grew up in corporate. I grew up in a very, very structured, matrixed, red taped environment, and it set my foundation. And the good thing about that is the process, the standard operating procedures, the continuous learning, the manuals, the training, the development. Those are important foundational aspects that I learned from starting my career as a kid, fresh out of college in corporate America. But 10 years into corporate America, I realized that I had a vision. I always have a vision, and I have a plan, and my plan has a plan, and everything's planned out. And no, it's not plan A. I have plan A through Z. And if that doesn't work, I start from 1 through infinity. Like, I'm a planner, and I have goals and I have vision boards, but I'm not one of those people where, like, if that doesn't happen, like, my world is going to fall apart. I'm a very, very ridiculously flexible, adaptable person where I'm like, this is the goal. It doesn't work. Let's pivot. But if it works, continue, that kind of thing, right? And so I decided to go back to school and get an MBA from a top tier university, which was at the time Ohio State University, and focused on marketing and advertising. And that's exactly what I did. And this is when digital marketing was kind of becoming a new thing, right? We're having
Yeah.
Google, YouTube is starting, LinkedIn was new. I think Facebook had just bought Instagram. This is pre Meta. Twitter was still Twitter. People were starting to dabble into all these things, but they were really focused on the Instagrams and Facebooks and Twitters of the world. And nobody was really focused on LinkedIn because it used to be more of a job site, right, than anything else.
Exactly.
And I thought, well, traditional marketing is going to run its course. It'll always be there. But I think the people that stand out are, from a talent is going to be those who embrace technology. And so I wanted to do that nationwide, or my corporate job wasn't the place. It was going to take decades to become the VP of marketing,
Yep.
right?
Sure.
So I bounced. I got my MBA and I bounced. I did a gig here and there. And then I'm going to freelance because I need to learn. And literally, the bold move back then was I had no job. I had no experience in social media. I had no true proven experience on paper when it comes to marketing. All my experience was really more on the operational side of marketing, on the sales side of marketing, on the managing a team of SDRs side of marketing, but not the true marketing I
Yeah.
wanted to do. So I started freelancing. And when I say freelancing, I mean free freelancing, right? I will take on any client who will let me manage their social media accounts, and they didn't pay me because why would you pay somebody you don't know? And now I'm not giving this as advice. Don't go quit your job and go work for free. I was young.
Right.
I didn't have a family. I had a husband who was working and supportive, and it worked out, right? And so
Right.
I made a bold move. I took a huge risk, and it was the scariest thing at the time. This was over a decade ago. I remember it was 2015, and I dove in, and one client after the next, one freelance opportunity after the next. Then it was word of mouth, then it was referrals. Then I was building my book of business or my portfolio. And I started charging. And those who stayed with me all of a sudden went from paying me nothing to paying me almost an entry level salary, right? Worth of, and they weren't my only clients. And so I started building on that. And oh my God, the amount of learning, right? From working on so many different clients, businesses, industries, sizes, B2B, B2C, food and beverage versus like CPG. It was all over the place. And then I joined an agency, a local PR agency who I knew through my network, and they were trying to start building their digital side. And they were like, hey, do you want to come consult with us? Basically, if there's a client and they need some kind of digital marketing, maybe you can help. And I said, absolutely. I never planned to go back in-house. At that point, I loved my freedom. I worked for myself. I made a lot of money working for myself. We started to have a family because we were, hey, we're good. And then COVID kind of changed everything. And I was like, well, you're starting a business. All of our money's tied into this. I get zero income at this point because I have no clients. I kind of have to do something, right?
Yeah.
And it just felt like it was the right opportunity. And it really was. I went in house. I led the entire marketing function from A to Z for a B2B to C, a sort of mid-sized company, right? 500-ish million ARR. So they weren't giants, but they weren't tiny by any stretch of the imagination. And I was with them for a full year. So 2020, COVID was still a thing. Everybody was working from home. There was an
Intense time.
office.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I fell in love. It reminded me of how amazing it was to be in-house and have a team and have a budget and only focus on one thing instead of multiple different things. But it was still COVID, right? And things happen. A year later, I'm no longer with them. And so I'm back to, well, now the job market is crappy and I'm pregnant with baby number 2. And so I was like, I'm just going to freelance again. I'm just going to go back. I had some clients that finally got over that whole 2020
Yep.
pandemic hump, and they were ready,
Yes.
and we re-engaged, and then I continued. And then from, my son was born in 22. So from 22 to about 20, so for 3 years, really, I was only doing true fractional CMO roles where I would, I come in, I'm their CMO on a fractional, part-time basis. There's a contract, and I'm taking them to market from zero to one. All of these people are either pre-revenue or have just won their first couple of clients, but they're under 1 million in revenue, right? So very early stage. And I was like, this is awesome, but it's exhausting. It is
Mm. Mm-hmm.
exhausting and it's lonely. And it's
Mm.
just inside of me, I was like, you know what? The freedom is not worth the sacrifices, basically. Yeah,
Mm.
there's freedom, but if I don't have a client, I don't make money. Benefits, vacation. I'm
Yes.
working around the clock because I work for myself. And I have two children. And at this point they're young and I want to do things with them. But on the weekends, I'm working because I'm prospecting and trying to figure out who my next client is. And any client can pull their
Yeah.
budget anytime, right? And again, remember, they are very small, they're startups, etc. And I just sat down and I said, no, I want to go back in-house, but I want to do it right this time. I want to be extremely selective. I know exactly what I want, and I'm not going to settle until I get it. The job market was brutal when I decided to jump in and start looking, right? I had a few conversations, and then I met Ryan Moore, the
Mm.
CEO of Modus Planning. I met him through my network. I reached out and I said, hey, can you make an introduction? I'd love to meet this guy. And so then I emailed him. He emailed me back. We scheduled time to talk, and we hit it
Mm.
off. Like we
Oh,
became
that's
best
awesome.
friends in about
Yeah.
30 minutes, right? And I was like, okay, I'd like to continue this conversation. And we took our time. He took his time. I took
Mm-hmm.
my time. I wanted to meet every single person in the company. I wanted to meet him in person, which I did. I went to an event in Indianapolis with him even before I started and got immersed into the CPG food culture, which was amazing. Met the team, and it just felt right. In my heart, in my gut, it felt right. On paper, it looked right. At this point, I had been burnt so many times that I was looking for any red flag, right? I was just, okay, it could be culture. It could be they're hiding something. I mean, he was an open book with everything.
So this is great because you've made the leap and now you're inside the next bold move of your life, your career. And so the question for the season is how do you continue to be bold day after day? And so let's just first start, Sherehan, with asking you, what does being bold look like for you in your role in Midas Planning right now?
Being bold is being a human first marketer. Why do I say that? Marketing over the years, over the last couple of decades, especially in the B2B space, has really taken a
Mm-hmm.
turn for the worse and a bad reputation. It became sort of more this rev ops engine and everything's tied to revenue. And if you're a
Mm-hmm.
marketer and you say revenue is not a marketing KPI, they come at you with pitchforks, which is one of those posts that went viral of mine, which I still stand by those words. And I don't think people understand that, yes, we're all responsible for revenue. We're all marching to the same North Star. But if you put it as a KPI and all you're focused on is on revenue, you forget that you're marketing. And what is marketing at
And
its
then people
core?
are on the other side of your decisions or
Exactly.
of that communication. Yeah.
Yeah, marketing at
Yeah.
its core is a psychological thing. I need to do something
Mm-hmm.
to make you feel something so you can take the action
Mm-hmm.
I want you to take. And it could be really sour. Some people do really poor marketing. They manipulate the data and they lie to you. That's not what I'm saying here. But it's all human to human. And so to
Mm-hmm.
stay bold is to stay a true marketer and remind even the people that hold the purse string, the people that hold my career now in their hands, remind them, and it's not always about the dollar. Yes, we need revenue. We need to grow. Otherwise, we don't have a company. I get that. But marketing is an investment. It compounds. It's not a tactical execution only. It's not a strategy only. It's this whole entire ecosystem flywheel effect of staying top of mind, of being in the right
Mm-hmm.
places, saying the right things to the right audience.
So you've answered what being bold is to you, which is about making marketing more human. But I think you've also gone a little bit deeper into my next question, which is sharing a bold decision you had to make early on at Modus. Maybe it was a strategy or a practice that you rejected to set the tone for everything to come.
It's still ongoing. My process never changes. It's learn, plan, do. And the learning never stops, but at some point you got to
Yes.
take whatever learning you've learned and create a plan and get the buy-in and then start
Yeah.
executing. So I'm already in the do, even though I'm still learning and even though the plan can change. But the
Mm-hmm.
plan, my GTM, was really focused on three things. And I said it was content, community, and
Mm-hmm.
campaigns. And I got the buy-in on that. And they said, why? And I said, I have their buy-in. The budget is focused on these three things, but every single day I have to remind them that the content is important. It's not, content
Okay.
is king. right? It remains king. You
Mhm.
have to have content that speaks to your audience, and you have to be consistent about it. But content alone is not going to be enough. And that's where the other two C's come into play. And so then the community is the things we do in real life, right? How do we build the community around Modus Planning? How do we build a community of partners,
Mhm.
of customers that love us, that are going to refer other people to us? How do we build a community around the fact that we are the operational or revenue operations for CPG brands? Because CPG
Mhm.
doesn't do RevOps, and we're kind of trying to
Mhm.
change that, because really you should.
Mm.
And then showing up in real life, right? Like at events, hosting micro dinners, hosting
Mhm.
VIP happy hours, going to trade shows, going to B2B events just to be around our peers from media
Yeah.
exposure. And that's the community. And campaigns is like that kind of,
Mhm.
how do you take all of this and make sure that you're running certain ads or running certain email marketing, or maybe doing some supportive campaigns to continue with that message.
I think it's so smart for your plan to be the content, campaigns, and community. And I was going to say the content and the community work so well together. And I think that a lot of times brands miss out on the community piece, and they just think about content in that let's shout louder than everybody else. Let's say more things than everybody else. And what I'm finding in my work is that it's not about grabbing attention, it's also about keeping it. And that's resonance. And the only way to keep the attention once you've got their attention is to create this community feel, to make the audience feel like they're valued and important and you're listening to them. I wanted to pivot to the difference, because this is now becoming more hard to delineate, is the difference between a brand, an actual company, and a person, or a personal brand. For listeners listening too, and they want to show up online around their expertise, how can they do that? What role does, how do you think about who you are as a person and then how you represent the brand online?
So that's a very good question. It's a very tricky question. So here's the
Yes.
thing. When I decided to build my personal brand on LinkedIn, I worked for myself. So I had nobody to answer
Yeah.
to, and I didn't have to worry about offending or pissing anybody off. But at the same time, you kind of do, because if you're looking for a job or you're looking for clients, you also don't want to be polarizing, right? So it's a very, very fine line to tread when you're trying to think. I want to be bold, and I want to build a personal brand, and I want people to come to me knowing that I am a marketing authority figure. But at the same time, I
Hmm.
don't want to be blah. And I don't want to say the same things everybody else is saying, because at some point, I swear to God, every time I posted something, I read that post from 100 other people in variations. I'm not saying they stole my idea. I'm just saying, did I steal their idea? Are we all just saying the same thing over and over? And it just becomes this echo chamber, right? So it's a very fine line. And I noticed, and I learned from the greats, the people that have that little blue check mark, the people that aren't polarizing, but their content goes viral, gets saved, or gets a lot of comments, whether they're arguing or
Hmm.
agreeing, are the people that are delivering value with
Hmm.
everything they post. For example, I'll keep referring to her because I consider her a mentor and a friend. Samantha McKenna, Sam Sales, or Show Me. I mean, she's got a godly amount of followers or whatever. But every single post of hers, she's giving away something very useful that
Hmm.
most people have to pay to get. And she's putting it out there for free. Here's how you do something. Here's how you do something. Here's how you do something. So she's not talking theories. She's not talking
Hmm.
strategy. She's actually giving you the tactical playbook sometimes. And that's amazing. And there's a lot of people that do that. Morgan J. Ingram, same thing with sales. And then on the marketing side, there's just quite a few.
Hmm.
Anyways, the point is, these are the people that built an audience because they were giving value with every single post. And I said, that's what I want to be. And so when I started my journey, I had no idea who I wanted to show up as on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And I started bold. I just went full force on like female empowerment, motherhood, working motherhood. You
Yeah.
do it all. We're the superheroes. And it got some attention. But then I realized, like, that's not who I want to be known as. Like, yes,
Hmm.
these are missions that are near and dear to my heart and are important, but
Hmm.
it's not helping anybody. I realized that's kind of not what I want to
Mm,
do. I want to be a marketing authority, right? I want to talk about marketing. I want to talk about real things that move the needle that people like, here's my playbook.
mhm,
Here's what I tested. Here's what I tried and
mhm,
building it in public. So anytime I got a client, I got their approval like, "Hey, can I talk about you on LinkedIn? Can I talk about the tactics? Can I talk about the strategy? Can I talk about what we're doing?" And if they say yes, I talk about them. And I talked about wellpay.ai
mhm,
ran by Cynthia.
mhm,
I talked about trade share ran by Josiah,
mhm.
and there was a couple of others that I did. And like whenever there was a big initiative, like I posted about it, and then I posted whether it succeeded or failed, and that's kind of what got me going with my
Mm,
personal brand.
mhm.
Then I started working at Modus, right? And then I had to think about how do I shift what I'm saying on LinkedIn where I'm still giving value from a marketing perspective, but if somebody
Yeah.
comes to my LinkedIn, they're going to see Modus Planning. And so I need to put my best foot forward to make sure that nothing I do is hurting
Mm,
Modus Planning. And I'm not a big
mm.
creator, I'm not an influencer, so I don't need that disclaimer. All my opinions are mine
Yes.
and do not reflect my company, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that, right? I am my brand. I am Sherehan Ross, but I'm also VP of Marketing at Modus Planning. And I own a piece of that company. It is mine. So, of course, showing up
Mhm,
to protect it is very important. And so it's a fine line of figuring out what do I say that will attract the right audience for Modus Planning while continuing to build my personal brand because that's kind of my IP. It's mine, right? Nobody could take my personal brand, and that's how I future proof
yeah.
myself.
Building a personal brand is how you future proof yourself,
Absolutely.
which is amazing advice for bold movers who
Yeah.
want to step into their next thing.
Yeah.
It's how do you claim your leadership and your boldness and show that and gain some visibility for that online. It's really powerful.
Well, think about it. Your network today, in this day and age, your
Mm-hmm.
network is your net worth. It's not how much money
Mm,
you have in your bank account. It's who knows you, who talks about you when you're not there, who you can go to, and they will pick up the phone, pick up their DM. When I mentioned Sam, I remember I sent a DM to Samantha McKenna, Kyle
mm,
Coleman, Leslie Vanetz, and Michael J. Ingram. Four of the
mm-hmm.
biggest, hugest names on LinkedIn in the sales side of things because I
Yeah.
needed advice. They probably get hundreds, maybe thousands of DMs a day. They all have that blue check mark. They have tens of
Yeah.
thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers. They're busy people running multi-million dollar companies and organizations, and they reply to me
Mm,
with the advice I asked for. That speaks volumes to the kind of people they are, which is amazing. Like you want to be their
mm-hmm.
friend, but not just
Mm,
that. The fact that I'm not their ICP. I'm not making them money. I'm not doing anything. I'm just somebody who showed up on LinkedIn authentically, build relationships with them, met some of them in real life. Some of them I
yeah.
dying to meet in real life. But I got to a point where they replied to me. You know why? Because I built my network, I built my personal brand, and it became my net worth. And so that's what I bring to the table. That's how I future
Mm-hmm.
proof myself. So definitely build your personal brand and future proof
Mm-hmm.
yourself by upskilling. That's another thing. You got to upskill. Uh,
Upskill.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I
And in
upskilled
our
in
industry right now, that looks like AI, right?
AI. Mhm.
Learning
Yes.
all of the use cases for AI and
There are
the theory and the practicality. Yeah.
Yes. And don't just be a
Yeah.
super user, try to build. And I know we
Yeah.
don't all have time, but
Oh,
start
interesting.
somewhere, follow some of the right people, take some courses. I actually have a course out on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn for
Oh,
AI.
I'll put that in the show notes.
All
Yeah.
right, awesome. Yeah, it's about how
Yeah.
to build your buyer personas, how to segment your ICP and build very specific buyer personas, put them through certain campaigns, testing, iterating, all that fun stuff. Like, I mean, I used my course to build our segmentation for our buyer personas at Modus, right? Because I was like, why
Awesome.
not use my own course? Like, it's right there, all the resources. But yeah, upskill because that's how those were all my bold moves. Like when I left
Mm-hmm.
Nationwide, I upskilled in social media. I became a
Mm-hmm.
social media manager.
Mm.
With no business being a social media manager, but which is why I worked for free. And I upskilled. I upskilled by learning everything
Yeah.
LinkedIn and B2B. I upskilled by learning everything AI and use cases. And I have my GPTs built for everything that you can think of.
Yeah.
Um, no, it's not just a content engine. I mean, like you can brainstorm. I mean, I have so many use
Yeah.
cases for AI. It's amazing.
Well, okay, I know we're winding down on time here, but I really want to ask this question and then we'll segue into our wrap up. It's about building teams and coaching teams. How do you empower your team to make their own bold moves? Which I'm really interested to hear your answer to this one, because I do think, that being that visionary and that great leader for your team is only going to help get you to your goals. It's about bold leadership, right? How
Right.
do you create these bold teams that aren't afraid of making bold moves?
You have to empower them by giving them ownership. If you believe in the cause and if you believe you own the cause, you're more likely to feel empowered to make bold moves. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
did. I led 16 junior SDRs at Nationwide. I led 8 mid to senior level marketers and designers at Tcetra. I'm building my team now at Modus Planning. I believe in servant leadership. Like, I don't care about
Mm-hmm.
titles and hierarchies and things like that. I believe that a leader is selected, not enforced. People want to follow you because they believe in you, they trust you, and they know you have their back. And so, if you lead with that type of authenticity, that I do have your back, that
Mm-hmm.
I will
Mm-hmm.
shield you from anything and protect you from anything, and we are going to collaborate, I think. I think that helps. Also, building rapport quickly. So, anytime I join as the head of
Mm-hmm.
marketing, like as the marketing leader, as the marketing exec, whatever, the top marketing person, and you're inheriting a team, you're not coming in and saying, here's how we're going to do everything. Like, you come in and you
Yeah.
listen and you
Mm-hmm.
ask and you let them do their
Mm-hmm.
thing, and then you offer suggestions when needed. You got to keep it very collaborative. You got to also build
Mm-hmm.
credibility super quickly. They're looking to you for answers. They're looking to you to tell them how to do things, the more junior people. And the more senior
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to feel threatened, right? And so you got to
Mm-hmm.
build credibility. You got to come in and let them know
Mm-hmm.
why you earned that seat, that you know what you're doing, but
Yeah.
you don't know everything, and you never want to be the smartest person in the room. And when you mix that humility with that authority, I think that's a balance that
Mm-hmm.
experience will teach you. But you gotta, I mean, again, it's very, very different leading a junior team versus leading a more senior or seasoned team. It's very different. But the core piece is we're all human. You got
Mm-hmm.
to have their back. You got to be authoritative, but also very collaborative. You have to have empathy. So, a servant
Mm-hmm.
leader means you don't adapt to me as your leader, I adapt to you as your leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember I always use this example. When I was at Tcetra, I had somebody on my team who was a very, very introverted, shy, kind of want to be on my own type of person. And we're a marketing team. And I don't know if you've met me, I am not introverted or shy, right? And so I had to very quickly adjust my method with her. Like, I can't call her out on in meetings, like to ask her for her. She has to come to me. I let her work from wherever, however she wants. She didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable turning on her camera during team meetings, and that's fine. And so you adjust your approach to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
your best employee, your best teammate, the person that's running the engine behind the scenes is happy and not getting burnt out or having to feel that they have to pretend to be somebody else just to kind of fit in,
Yes.
right?
Well,
Um,
that's it. It's not about conforming to the group or the culture of the team. It's actually letting everybody be themselves and how they work best
mhm.
so that they can contribute to the team best. I remember, speaking of the ownership piece, and I love your answer to that because it immediately brought me back to a time where I was leading the team and
Mhm.
one person I was managing was in charge of social media, but she was sort of timid. She was
Mhm.
timid in managing the channels. And there was a point in time, and we were just getting used to each other. We got introduced through an acquisition. And so I think she was just kind of sitting back and seeing how things were going to settle out. And eventually, probably 6 months in, I said, you own this channel, own it. Do you know what you're doing to make this be, the best strategy for our social media channels? Own it. It was a light bulb switch and it turned her on. And later in a performance review, I asked, what was the difference between your approach,
Mhm.
and how did it switch? Why the transformation? Tell me, give me more information.
Yeah.
And she actually told me, she said, when you told me to own it, it was mine to own. That's when I felt the most empowered.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
absolutely. Ownership empowers you. Imagine knowing that it's okay to do what I need to do because it's mine. And if I break it, I fix it, right? You
Yeah.
gotta let them. I mean, it's
Yeah.
marketing. You just
Yeah.
have to let them. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
Well, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you and finally meet you well, as in person as Zoom can be. My last question, what is one piece of advice you have to keep our momentum and courage going when that initial excitement fades and the real work begins?
It's like the honeymoon phase is over. Now what? People that make bold moves have an inherent quality that others don't, and that is curiosity. And I think you touched on that in one of your posts recently. If you have a curious mind, I don't think the excitement ever dies because we're the type of people who will always seek the next adventure, the next learning, the next opportunity, the next campaign, the next post, the next in real life event.
Yeah.
We're always figuring out what's next that's
Yes.
going to keep us excited. And once we figure that out, then we're figuring out how to make it bigger, bolder, badder, even more exciting. And
Yeah.
so I think inherent quality that we all carry is that curiosity. Curiosity leads to innovation. Curiosity leads to boldness. Curiosity is the core thing that makes you never stop learning. When people tell me, "Oh, I'm maxed out. I've learned everything I need to do in my role. I'm done." Right? What's next? I've hit my glass ceiling. I don't think there's a glass ceiling regardless of how junior or senior you are. There's always
Yeah.
look at the people that have been a chief marketing officer for a decade in the same company. Do you think they stopped learning once they got the title? Why are they still there a decade later? Because they're probably continuously doing something new and something bold, and they might have the same title, but they probably don't have the same role and responsibilities
Yeah.
behind the title.
Right.
Things are changing
Right.
all the time because they're that kind of person. That's my advice. Never stop being curious, never stop learning. So I was one of the very first users of ChatGPT when it rolled out, and within like a year I was like, okay, now what? And there's just so much. And I was like, nope, never saying now what. Always saying what's next. What else haven't I thought about? And if my brain is not being creative and innovative, then seek it out by talking to others. Never stop being curious. Never stop learning. Never stop exploring. And I think that will keep you always excited. The honeymoon phase will never end if you're continuously figuring new things out versus, okay, well, it's smooth sailing. We're just doing more of the same. Doing more of the same is not innovative and it's never exciting. You gotta keep it going. So that's my advice. Stay curious. And I stole that from
Sherehan
you.
Ross. Oh. Well, it's been all along over the 2 years. It's been a core premise of the show. In fact, my old show opener used to have curiosity front and center because I do believe that is a powerful way to continue to make bold moves and then continue progressing as well.
Yep.
Thank you, Sherehan, for being here. If listeners want to follow you, where should they go?
LinkedIn, very active. I respond to every single DM. Sherehan Ross. I mean, it's /Sherehan Ross. You can't miss it. I'm the only Sherehan Ross pretty much on Google. Like if you search me, you will find me. I promise I'm easy to find. But don't spam me.
I know. Pitch slapping. Please, guys. Bold
No,
Move listeners, no pitch slapping when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn. Awesome. I will put your contact information also in the show notes, as well as your LinkedIn course about using AI to build audience personas. You have been so much fun to talk to. So energetic, it's contagious. I just love it. And thank you for being here. To everybody else, keep making those bold moves, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank
Bye
you,
for now.
Kristen. Bye, everybody.